Welcome, everybody. I'm Cassie Tomaselli, the founder of Tomaselli Media, and just want to thank you all so much for joining me today for a few minutes to talk about content marketing and email for cannabis dispensaries. Also, I want to thank Brian and the entire Offenbonger team for coordinating this Dispensary Growth Summit today. I'm really excited to learn from others as well as share with you all a few tips and tricks about how to increase the loyalty and your reputation and sales within your retail operation. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Once again, I'm Cassie Tomaselli. I'm the founder of Tomaselli Media. We are a boutique content marketing agency focused on cannabis and other purpose-driven brands. I've spent about 6+ years in the cannabis industry, and I've worked in media and marketing for over 12 years. I've worked with local, national, as well as B2C and B2B brands in the cannabis and horticulture spaces, such as Cannabis Business Times, Fireland Scientific, Crop King, and many others. And I'm currently studying for my executive MBA at The Ohio State University. So go Bucks. All right, so today on the agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about what is content marketing. We're going to talk about the types of content marketing. We're going to talk about developing your content plan, as well as repurposing your content, measuring your impact, as well as a focus on email newsletters and promotions. So what is content marketing? Let's just kind of set the stage here. How is this different from what we traditionally know as marketing? Well, according to the Content Marketing Institute, content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience and ultimately drive profitable consumer action. So instead of pitching your products and services, you are providing truly relevant and useful content to your prospects and customers that helps solve their issues. Simply put, content marketing comes from a place of service. You are giving something of value to your customer without having a purely transactional approach in the way that you go about it. So there are lots of things that are achievable with thoughtful content marketing. It starts with awareness, first of all. The power of content can get you in front of your ideal audience, those who are sharing your values and into what you're producing. It also can create engagement and allow people to kind of authentically connect with who you are and strengthen those connections over time. With that, there comes loyalty. So showing up consistently encourages those who buy from you to keep buying because it'll continue to resonate with them. It can provide a level of credibility because you're sharing thought leadership, perhaps, on topics that are related to your product or service or industry, helps you build authority with your prospective buyers. And it can also influence people. The ability to speak directly to your audience can inspire them to take meaningful action. And ultimately, conversions. That's truly what's most important in content marketing. If you're providing content that reflects your brand's personality and your unique value proposition, you're making those connections, you're building that authority, you're making that influence, you're going to get people to purchase from you and believe in you consistently over time. So why is content marketing so important in 2024? And I think this statistic really showcases the power of content marketing. According to Retail Dive, you can't afford not to have a digital presence today because 87% of shoppers begin their product searches on digital channels. So having, a unique voice and having content that ultimately serves your customer is going to be really important in building that authority and building that connection and showcasing to current and prospective buyers the value that you bring, because we're kind of doing our research online more days. It's not your traditional sales call conversation anymore. People have an idea and a notion about you before you interact with them for the first time. And so why is content marketing so important for cannabis in 2024? Well, as many of you are well aware and have so much experience with already, you know that the cannabis regulatory environment, such as restrictions on traditional advertising like TV, radio, billboards, sponsored events, these things are severely limited, if not prohibited altogether in our industry. and that really pushes companies to get more creative with their outreach. And in fact, cannabis is continuing to grow in popularity. I live in Ohio, where we just legalized recreational use. And education is needed now more than ever. And so content can be your guide to build trust and authority and help you consistently stay top of mind with that ideal audience and make you, the go-to when people are looking for new products and services, as well as education around this amazing plant. So content marketing integrates into your public relations plan. It can integrate into your SEO optimization strategy, your pay-per-click strategy if you have one, as well as any of your inbound marketing goals. All of those are really not possible without having content built around them as an infrastructure. And that's where content can really be powerful. And so here are the different platforms that you can use for content marketing. And these are just a handful. There are certainly more. But you can produce a blog for your website. You can produce a podcast. You can do a newsletter. You can do a free guide, or we also call it like an ebook or a white paper. You can use content on social media. You can create a webinar. You can do short term videos. You can create a case study around a customer that's used your product. You can also create infographics that teach people about certain aspects of the plant or your work or the industry in general. And content is also not centered around just digital marketing. It can be around a speaking engagement, like an in-person conference or seminar or sponsored event where you're interacting in real life with people around content around a particular topic. So there are three ultimate ways that you can use content marketing in your work. The first is educational, where you're teaching someone about something. That can be, teaching people about the different cannabinoids or terpenes or product delivery methods or things of that nature. You can also use content for storytelling and building that authentic connection. What's the story of your dispensary? Who are your founders? What's their background? What's their mission, their purpose? What are you doing on the day-to-day that's showing your community that you're consistently showing up and you're caring about them? And also, it can just be used for purely entertainment. We call it edutainment sometimes when we combine, education and entertainment together. But ultimately, people want to be entertained, and dispensaries can absolutely do that through their content as well, especially on social media. So before you create any piece of content, you really need to develop a content strategy. And you really need to understand what your goals are for your content, whether they're direct goals or they're indirect goals. So if you want a direct goal and you want to really have a measurable example, here are some ways that you can do that. You can grow your audience by 500 email addresses by June, for example. You can incentivize product surveys to improve your feedback loop by X%. You can influence your social media saves, a function of a social media Instagram or LinkedIn post, for example, by 15%, say. And you can launch an influencer campaign to attract X segment of the market. What I would caution here is while you do want to have measurable examples because you want to be working toward a goal in a very thoughtful and strategic way, you just want to be careful not to get too bogged down in the numbers. Ultimately, with content, you really want to look at quality over quantity. And you understand with marketing, repetition really drives marketing. So somebody could see that social media post. Maybe you don't have any direct measurement of sales or saves or likes or comments, but maybe that person then Googles you and goes to your dispensary and purchases from you from there. So it can have a lot of indirect impact also, but establishing some sort of measurable metric will just help you kind of stay on track with your campaign over time and help you understand what's working and what's not. So here are the types of questions that you should ask when developing your content marketing plan. First, what types of content do we want to publish? Do we want to promote our give back efforts? Do we want people to meet our bud tenders? Do we want, to be promotionally heavy? Do we want to really double down on our loyalty program and our audience segmentation and push products through there? So that kind of helps establish, what are you doing this for? Next, you want to ask when you should publish. You'll also want to ask what resources you'll need to create the content. So are you going to need a design program like Canva or Adobe Illustrator? Do you need high-res photography? Do you need video, copywriting, AI tools? Do you want to lean on user-generated content? And then you want to ask yourself, how long realistically will these projects take to complete? Most of the time, it's longer than you think. But once you kind of get a good machine going, you can really publish consistently and effectively and quickly over time. What will your workflow look like? Who's going to be creating that content? What is the approval process going to look like? How are you going to be saving and archiving that content so that you can reuse it in the future? All of those things are very important to understand with your workflow and approval process. Then, of course, you want to know what's your budget, and you don't want to exceed that budget, as we know that profitability in this industry is difficult, and we need to use our marketing dollars wisely. So setting a budget at the outset can be really important. Can you complete your content marketing in-house, meaning with your internal team, or do you need to outsource it to an agency or to a freelancer to kind of help you create that if your resources internally are limited? And then by what metrics will we measure our success and over what period of time? And lastly, how can our content be repurposed? Repurposing content is so important because we want to make sure that if we are spending the time to create and share content with the world, that we'll be able to give that content a long runway to use it in many different ways over time and be really mindful with our resources. So, for example, with repurposing content, a blog can turn into multiple social media posts. It can be a pitch to local, national, or trade media. It can be an authoritative resource to send to speaking engagement applications. You can use it as a podcast to further discuss the topic in detail. Or you can take that blog and make a shortened version of that as a topic for your email newsletter, for example. So whenever you create something, just think about all of the different ways that you can use it over time. Of course, there are going to be some things that are timely, like a limited promotion or a holiday event or a limited product line or things like that. But really, you want to be thinking about content in a way that's going to help you reach as many people as possible over as many platforms as possible as you build and grow your content marketing strategy. So when you measure your content marketing, here are a few examples of the statistics that you can use to help kind of guide your way. You can look at, for example, website traffic, like views, time spent on page, the bounce rate. You can look at social media metrics, not just impressions, but also likes or saves or replies, direct messages, number of followers, etc. You can also look at email newsletter signups, open rate, the click-through rate, meaning, how are people clicking on the links throughout your email newsletter, or the number of unsubscribes you're getting. You can also look at video watch time. So how much time on average are people watching your video before they drop off? Conversion rates, if you are asking people to do a very direct action, you can measure that with unique tracking metrics and things like that with links. The number of downloads. If you have a YouTube channel, for example, and you want to see how many downloads or a video or a podcast or a white paper or something like that you're creating for your customers, understanding that number of downloads can also be really helpful. And of course, you also want to measure, especially if you're able to do any sort of paid campaign, is your cost per lead or your cost per click, things of that nature. You also want to understand your SEO ranking for, certain keywords and topics that you're really trying to attract with your audience, as well as the number of backlinks. So meaning if you publish a blog on your website and it's referenced by another website, that can improve your SEO. And so understanding the number of backlinks that you have can be really important in showing, what is your real authority in that topic. But again, as I mentioned earlier, content marketing KPIs or key performance indicators, they can be directly and indirectly tied to whatever your desired action or conversion is. So you want to use those metrics to guide your strategy over time But you don't want to look at these metrics as an end all be all, as an understanding of your total success or your total failure as it relates to content marketing. So we are going to take the last 20 minutes or so, and we are going to focus really heavily on email marketing, because email marketing, in my view, is just a very, very important way for you to connect a long-lasting relationship with your customers over time. So email marketing on average returns $36 for every dollar spent. It is a highly, quote unquote, profitable way to promote your products and your services to an ideal audience. And again, we want to make sure that we're using our resources as wisely as possible. And so investing in your email marketing is a really powerful way to do that. In today's federally illegal cannabis environment, your social media can get shut down at any time. So, Instagram can shut down your page for violating policies, or maybe your algorithm is going to change, and all of a sudden you're not seeing the engagement that you were seeing or the impressions, or if you're leaning on it too heavily and it goes away, what do? How do you reach your people, your audience? How do you continue to market your business over time? So, an email marketing list is this owned resource that helps you get front and center with interested and warm leads to further engage and build loyalty with your target customer base. And when I say interested, warm leads, I mean, when people sign up for your newsletter, they are showing you very deliberately that they want content from you, that they want whatever that is that you're sending to them. So they already have an interest, which automatically makes your job a little bit easier. And again, just more powerful in building that trust and connection over time. So another reason to use email marketing, there are 4 billion daily email users. Actually, that was a statistic from 2021. So we would imagine that there are even more today. And that number is expected to climb to 4.6 billion by 2025. So people are using email, they're using it daily. They're looking at their inbox often. And so it's really important for you to kind of get front and center on that channel where people are spending a lot of time. So email can be used not only for promotional reasons, like you have a 20% off sale or something like that, but it can also be used for storytelling and education. So, if you're trying to explain, a case study of someone who was helped by your product, or if you are trying to, kind of do a day in the life of a bud tender or things like that, you can help people kind of see the inside of your business and provide a lot of transparency, and again just get people to connect with you, because that's what it really is all about. An email can be direct or delivered directly to your audience, meaning there's no algorithm outside of your control. When you send your email, very shortly it lands in their inbox, and you kind of have that direct gateway to your customer if they choose to open it. And it's an own list, your email marketing list. So that list can be downloaded oftentimes into Excel, or another platform, and moved to a different provider if you need to. Again, you'll just want to make sure that you're using those email email contacts compliantly and responsibly. And we'll talk more about that briefly in a moment. And really, the reality is few businesses in the cannabis industry today, whether they're plant touching or not, are really using email or harnessing its full capabilities. We know that email works. We know that people are using it, and we know that it's a direct pathway to our customers, and it's a way that we can get content approved by our regulators to send, and connect with our audience. But few people in this industry are really using email to the best of its ability. And that could be for many reasons. It could be a lack of know-how. It could be nervousness about getting shut down for one reason or another, or maybe it's just not a priority by your management. But and that also presents a huge opportunity. So those who are using email right now will undoubtedly succeed in curating that dedicated audience and stay top of mind with their customers. So it's really important that people start early in building their email list and sending regular emails to that list. And because it does take time to curate and to build and to kind of gain that momentum and strength. But if you start now, again, you're going to have a huge leg up over your competition. So email marketing, what do you need? You need a reputable email service provider or ESP that can include things like Constant Contact or MailChimp or Klaviyo. A lot of these companies have, freemium models where you'll pay minimal or you may not have to pay at all, if you have a low budget or you're just starting out, up to greater subscription packages that can help you do a lot more with the service. You'll also need a dedicated point person for the build out of those emails and the analysis of those emails. So someone to create that content for you over time, as well as someone to understand how those emails are performing with statistics and metrics that the email service provider will give to you. You also need integration with your compliance team. And that is so, so important, not just with email, but all types of content marketing. If you don't start out with compliance at the get-go, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult if you have something that is turned down for any reason. Your marketing team doesn't want to spend a lot of time building something out just to learn that it's going to be shut down or that the management company isn't, or the management of your company isn't comfortable with that content and things like that. So starting with the get-go and integrating them early and understanding what that approval workflow is going to look like at the get-go is going to help you work more efficiently and quickly over time. And then just as much as it's important for you to have access to your compliance team, it's also really important to have access to the people in your company for content creation. So whether you're doing, 3 questions with your CEO, or you're working with your bud tenders to create content, or you're working with your marketing director to interview them on a topic, or just trying to get more information about the business to share on your content marketing channels like email, that's really important. You need to make sure that you have access to those people and that there's a plan to get that access and keep that access over time. So there are a few different types of email marketing. So email can be transactional. So for example, if someone abandons their cart and you send them like an automatic email, it says, hey, you left something, come back and place that order for pickup. Or you can say thanks for your order, or you can request a review from your customers. That's kind of what we call a transactional email. If it's a promotional email, you're sending that out to a segment or all of your list to promote something special. Like say you have a 50% off special on solventless cartridges, or you have a special maybe growers day where you're having a cannabis cultivator come in and share their growing process and information and have like a pop-up booth at your dispensary. Maybe you're promoting that, or maybe you're promoting that you'll be participating in like a local festival or something like that. And then there's also like a newsletter style email marketing, and that's what me and my team focus on in our agency, which is, kind of creating more of a newsletter style to your email marketing. So maybe you're giving company updates, maybe you're introducing people to your team, maybe you're providing really valuable product education, or you're telling your company story, or you're highlighting a give back effort. It's also important, as much as you want to use email to get a quick sale, it can be incredibly effective for that, but it also is really important to continue to build loyalty over time and kind of keep you top of mind with people and help people really get an inside look of your company to build that genuine connection, just like all types of content marketing that we talked about earlier. So here are just a few examples of companies that I believe do email marketing pretty well. Miss Grass is a cannabis brand that I'm sure many of you are aware of. They do a great job of keeping short and sweet emails that promote a blog or showcase products or kind of share new initiatives that they're doing at the company, as well as cannabis education. East Fort Cultivars, based in Oregon, is another that I think does a really great job of not only promoting products, but providing education around those products. And then Terrasana is a dispensary near where I live that does a really nice job of doing promotional emails and having really beautiful graphics and sending frequently to tell people what sales and discounts that they have to encourage people to come into the shop and to purchase. So these are just a few if you want to head to their websites and check them out. But just wanted to provide a few cannabis specific examples for you. So now with our last few minutes, I really want to talk about email marketing best practices because email is something that when used effectively and used responsibly, it can be a really amazing tool, but it also can be abused in a lot of ways. And so we want to make sure that we're providing our audience with the best possible experience. So by following these guidelines, you're going to kind of create a really engaged, loyal, and happy audience over time. So the first is to follow compliance as it relates to email. As we talked about earlier, it's really important to work with your compliance and legal team with any email that you're going to send to your list. But email also has some special, outside of the cannabis industry, regulatory considerations to avoid against, spamming people. You want to make sure that you have an easy unsubscribe option for people. You want to have accessibility for those who may have disabilities and may have a hard time reading content in a digital format. You also need to have a physical address and a place where people can contact you. So again, it's important to talk with your legal and compliance team about this, but just to be aware that there are some specific regulatory and kind of email provider uh, restrictions or guidelines that you need to follow in order to send email compliantly. The next is not to purchase lists. That's a big best practice. It may be really, really enticing if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I have a list of, X amount of customers in this regional area, and you can purchase this and send to them. And you think in my head, okay, well, if I just send to all of these people and I get like 2 or 3 out of it, like that's great for me. Understand that train of thought, but ultimately that is not a responsible way to build your email list because it can land you in the spam folder. It can impact your deliverability. Plus, it's just these people aren't asking for your content, and so it's just not responsible for you to kind of spam them with it. So everyone who is on your email list should be voluntarily opting in, or they should be giving you their explicit permission for their email to be used. And so you can build your list in many different ways. You can have like a website or a pop-up or a contact form on your site. You can create a lead magnet, which is like a digital download that you can create that can be used to deliver to people in exchange for email addresses. For example, read our full free guide on solventless concentrates. Just give us your email and we'll send you this download. That can allow people to get opted into your email newsletter, and you're giving them something of value in return. You can also use events like dispensary days or festivals or things like that to get people to sign up for your email newsletter in person. And then, of course, at the register, and as many of you know, especially if your email marketing is integrated into your loyalty program, that can be really, really powerful to send email marketing to people in a very targeted way that we'll talk about here in a second. You also want to send your emails consistently, but yet also respectably. What I mean by that is if you say that you're going to send them your newsletter every 2 weeks, send it to them every 2 weeks. Don't send it to them every week. Don't take a huge long break off without telling them ahead of time that you're going to do so. Just say what you're going to do because people are going to like expect that email from you over time. And that'll just kind of help build, trust and loyalty with that platform. And then also be aware of list fatigue. If you're sending promotional emails to people, you don't want to be sending them 10 emails a day. Or you may not even want to be sending them emails every day. You're going to get some feedback from your customers, whether they don't open or they unsubscribe or even send you an email that says, hey, stop, sending so many. They will do that. You'll understand over time what list fatigue really means to you, but just kind of being mindful in your content strategy of, how often should we be sending and what is going to be appropriate for us and our audience. You also want to create thoughtful content. Email can be great for promotions, as we mentioned, 20% off Tuesday or, whatever that is. But it can be used for so much more than that. It can really be this way to build authentic, genuine connections with your audience through storytelling, as we've talked about. And you really want to go for quality over quantity. You don't want to send them, just something because it's Tuesday and you need to send them something. You really want to be thinking ahead of time of what you're going to be curating to make sure that you're giving customers the ultimate value, and that it's going to be something that they look forward to opening and not something that lands in the trash folder, in the unread folder over time. And so with that, to help you kind of create that quality over quantity model, you really want to have a content calendar. And that's not just with email, but that's with any of your content marketing. You really want to be knowing ahead of time what you're going to be publishing, so you can have a solid plan and that you're not rushing to create things over time. You don't want to be, 4 days out from 420 and be like, what are we going to send out? You want to have like a plan to create that content and build some hype over time. So that way, when you do those email marketing promotions, they're really going to land and be very thoughtfully curated and transact smoothly. And you'll never be unsure of what to create if you're feeling uninspired. You might have, a notepad in your phone where you just jot down ideas. And then as they kind of come to you, and you can implement those into your content calendar. Just kind of thinking of ways to do that in a very strategic way is important, because you don't want to be spending too much time on your content. Ultimately, you want to be batching your content, so you can kind of reserve a few hours to create it and then, not worry about it and have it just kind of send automatically on autopilot. But I find that when you create a content calendar, quarterly is usually best, because it'll help you plan for things like events, or just kind of help you kind of think about ahead of time what you want to be promoting. But it also, being quarterly allows for flexibility in changing that content over time. So you also, with your email marketing, want to avoid having, too many photos. Photos will sometimes not appear if somebody has photos suppressed for their email. Like, I know Microsoft Outlook does that a lot to kind of save email storage space and things like that. So if your whole email is only just a photo or just a ton of photos, people aren't going to be able to see those right away unless they opt to download those images. Plus, they're not accessible. It's really important to kind of adhere to accessibility standards. And if you're sending a lot of, text on images and things like that, your email marketing isn't going to be very accessible, and that could potentially get you into some legal trouble over time. You also want to research engaging subject line trends. So your subject line is, the text that shows up in someone's inbox. And so you want to make sure that that is an extremely engaging hook to get people to open that email. So whether that's, here are 5 ways to consume cannabis in nature, or if you're talking about a specific promotion or things like that, you want to have a subject line that's really going to draw people in. And so you want to constantly be mindful of those subject lines and testing them over time, and understanding what works or doesn't work. So one way to do that is to research trends, look at online of what's working well quarterly, yearly, or seasonally. You may want to look at the best subject line trends by your topic or by your industry, or you may want to research some good subject lines that lift open rates that are B2B versus B2C. And one great resource to do that is to look at subjectline.com. They have a ton of resources on there that you can use to just understand what's trending in real time, but also test your subject lines and see how helpful they'll be in kind of lifting that open rate. Another best practice for email marketing is to have clear calls to action. So your call to action, or your CTA, will help you drive conversions and measure your results. So it's kind of that button that you think of at the bottom of the email that says buy now, or subscribe, or I'm sorry, subscribe, they're already subscribed, but order now, or learn more, or read the blog, or something like that, that will help people drive a specific type of action that you want them to take. But another best practice under this category is to limit the number of desired actions that you want. So, if you want to be promoting a specific product, don't be promoting a bunch of other things in that email. Just promote that product, make it the highlight, have your one CTA, and just make it very direct what you want out of your audience. That'll be helpful in just getting them to not be overwhelmed or just kind of scroll and leave. You're much more likely to kind of get a click-through rate by doing that. And then personalization. If you have a loyalty program, as we talked about earlier, segmenting your lists based on audience preferences can be really powerful. If you have, the team and the infrastructure to help you do that, that way you're only sending, edibles content to people that really enjoy edibles, or if they love low dose products, you're sending them stuff that really helps them find what they need. And another way to personalize is to add, the first name or company names if you're a B2B business to the subject line or the body copy to just kind of show that you're talking to them personally. You'll also want to make sure that you're cleaning up your lists. That will help you improve deliverability, and it will also help you study for bounces and lack of engagement. So if you're sending your email and you're finding that you're getting a ton of emails not delivering or they're bouncing, you want to make sure you're scrubbing those from your list. Or, if people who are no longer at that company, you're getting a lot of reply emails like that, you want to take them off your list. That will just kind of help you get a better understanding of your true open and engagement rate over time. And also it'll just kind of help you not land in the spam folder and help you increase your deliverability over time. Then the last thing you'll want to make sure is that you're conducting A/B testing often. So you want to be testing your subject lines, testing the types of content, testing the positioning, testing even like the colors of the buttons and how big or small of an image to use, or the order and the hierarchy of your email newsletters. Test things over time, see what gets people to click, see what gets people to engage. But it's really important that if you are going to conduct testing over time through your email service provider, you only want to change one thing at a time, because if you change a bunch of things at the same time, you're not going to know what really worked and what really didn't. So pick one thing that you want to potentially improve upon and just run some tests and see what performs better. And that's it. That's all I got for you today. So I hope that you got some content marketing tips, strategies, as well as some email marketing that will be helpful for you to promote your dispensary. You can find out more about my business at tomasellimedia.com. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. If you have any questions or if there's anything else that I can share with you that'll be helpful for promoting your email marketing over time. And then you can feel free to reach out to me at cassie@tomasellimedia.com. I am accepting new clients for 2024. So if you need some help in content strategy, brand messaging, content creation, things like that, give me a shout and I'm happy to help. Lastly, I'll just promote my own newsletter here. I send out a newsletter once a week to people in the cannabis industry that's called Meaningful Content Marketing Weekly. It provides tips and strategies to help you improve your content marketing. And so feel free to head over to tomasellimedia.com and sign up for my newsletter there. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Take care.